Flow Broadband and TV is packed with even more value as you get a free Samsung tablet, free installation, and 50% off your bill for 3 months when you sign up now. Yes, a free Samsung tablet. Power all you do at home with up to 100 megabits per second super fast broadband. Plus, stay HD entertained with Flow TV. Stream, share, and do more on your new free tablet, which will also keep you connected on the go with ease. Sign up at a Flow store today. Conditions apply.
Just filling in. I said, I'm just filling in.
If you need insurance, our service is the best. Home motor insurance can give you more for less. Property insurance can save you a lot of stress. At TDC Insurance Company Limited, we care about your investment. Guarantee you peace of mind. The best team in the business. Guarantee you peace of mind. No other company will guarantee you peace of mind. Together we'll succeed and guarantee you peace of mind. TDC Insurance Company Limited. You get more coverage.
I just filling in.
Panic. I have the number for Mr. Clark.
Yes. Let me get your name.
Eli. That's Eli. Just Eli.
Let's look for this party. That's mine.
Okay.
For 37.
Your name? Good to meet you. Congratulations on the program. Really good. Okay.
First come in with us. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Can I call you something else? Kenzie.
Okay. If you answer the job, then we're done.
Great.
Good morning. You're listening to 1FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Good morning to all of you who have joined us in Radio Land, of course. Those of you who joined us via social media, via Facebook and YouTube. I'm your host for today's edition of Voices, Devon Cornelius, and we will be having a conversation surrounding African Liberation Day, and we have some special guests here in our studio. We have Mr. Agard and we have Ras Eli, and joining us via the phone will be Mr. Earl Clark. Stay tuned. We will take a short break to say thank you to our sponsors. And when we come back, we'll head right into this program. Again, good morning and thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today is a beautiful Friday. Continue to enjoy your Friday. Continue to play your part in keeping St. Kitts and Nevis safe. Wear your mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing, and eventually we'll get back to a state or a sense of normalcy here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Let's take this short break and we'll be right back.
Flow Broadband and TV is packed with even more value as you get a free Samsung tablet, free installation, and 50% off your bill for 3 months when you sign up now. Yes, a free Samsung tablet. Power all you do at home with up to 100 megabits per second super fast broadband. Plus, stay HD entertained with Flow TV. Stream, share, and do more on your new free tablet, which will also keep you connected on the go with ease. Sign up at a Flow store today. Conditions apply.
TDC Automotive is paying for you. Deposit? We're paying. 3-month installments? We're paying. Pay nothing for 3 months because we are paying. Take a moment, catch your breath, and roll out with ease. Save over $20,000 off your new Toyota Hiace because TDC Automotive is paying. Get your Toyota Hiace today. TDC Automotive, #1 for a reason. Terms and conditions apply.
Cool. Energize your goals with Lucasade. Get it cool. Look under the cap. Find the code. Win it. Thousands in prizes. iPhones and TVs. Or win 30 grand US dollars for your goals. That's goals.
For a chance to win $30,000 US. Purchase any Lucasade Energy promo bottle. Look under the cap and find the code to win. iPhones, TVs, and free Lucasade for $30,000 US to energize your goals. See website, social media, or press for details. Lucasade, taste the energy.
Welcome back to Voices. Good morning. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius. You're listening to WinFM 98.9. I'm here with Ras Eli and Mr. Agard, and we'll be having a conversation surrounding African Liberation Day. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Of course, those of you who joined us via radio and social media such as Facebook and YouTube, thank you so much for being a part of our Voices program. Today is Friday, May 28th, 2021. You're listening to Voices on 1FM 98.9. So we're going to start this discussion, and we're going to start off with Ras Eli, and he'll begin with his presentation for today.
Hello, greetings to the listening audience, St. Kitts Nevis and beyond. Blessed love. It is a Nyabinghi House presentation, so we'll start it as we ought to. We greet all and sundry within the divine and perfect love of I, Ethiopian Majesties, His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie I, Her Imperial Majesty, Waziri Inyat Manan Asfa Selassie I. Blessed love. Well, we are here to reason with all and sundry that whom this message of African liberation ought to concern, because we are all African people. We find ourselves outside of the continent, a lot of us, and we know what dictates such. But we are all African people, nevertheless, wherever we find ourselves, and that's the naked truth. And notice the day which we commemorate, which has passed some days ago, the 25th of May, 1963, it was the coming together of heads of state of independent African countries to mobilize unification for the purpose of unification amongst African territories for the upliftment in every form. Nevertheless, the day is called African Liberation Day because, quite naturally, unity begets liberation. Once a people are united, everything else is possible. So that was the purpose of the day, to unite, unity, seeing things in one accord, speaking with one voice, moving with just oneness, and everything else. That alone will beget everything. Everything will be achieved from unity. It is said that unity is strength, you know. Yes, I mean, strength that is unlimited, if I must add. And it is good to be here sharing. We are going to, I'm here with Ras Egad. We're supposed to have another brother Tati might be joining us, and we are supposed to have our elder brother Earl Clark online joining us throughout the program. And we are inviting you, we are imploring you to be part of this program as though it is part of you. And as we said before, we are all an African people. Blessed love.
Thank you, Ras Eli, for your opening comments. Mr. Egad, do you have any comments for our listeners?
Yeah, blessed greetings all. Yeah, Ras Egad here, as mentioned. Yes, I just want to say that the African Liberation Day, the memorial, that started there in 1963. Well, between 58 to 63, there were all these discussions, and 31 or 32 nations came together in this agreement and started in 1963. Some have it dated at 1962, so today would actually be the 59th anniversary in places like Ghana, who have it as a holiday. Now, in previous reasoning before, I am also proposing that, the Caribbean countries, and we could actually start this, that we too should actually be looking at making African Liberation Day a holiday, here in the Caribbean. And as I say, St. Kitts could actually start that move. We have holidays sometimes that have nothing to do with us, and this have basically everything to do with us. And I think that some of the things that we should start doing is to have the generations following us to be aware and to be educated about the things of their past, such as African Liberation Day. And I've been proposing for some months now that we set a date, Caribbean countries come together, set a date for a memorial of the slavery, the Holocaust that we had to endure through our ancestors for 400 years right here in the Caribbean. So it all comes together in terms of the liberation of the African people here within different regions of the earth. I mean, the earth is the earth still, so whether we can possess it, but first, the liberation of the mind begin for us, as Bob Marley sing it, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, So we think that the liberation is quite critical, crucial, and necessary, and we should just deal with it immediately. I give thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Agard. Now, African Liberation Day, it means a lot to our African brothers and sisters. Now, you may have some people who do not celebrate the day, or they may not understand the meaning or the significance of the day. What do you say to those people who may not have an appreciation for African Liberation Day? Anyone can respond to this question.
Well, I would say, well, number one, I must say that most of the times you can't even blame the people for not, acknowledging these holy days, because they were not educated in it, and there was nothing that was pushing them or promoting the whole concept of knowledge of self or the true history of black people. Because in St. Kitts, for instance, a lot of people, when you say about history of us, we're just thinking about the history of us being in St. Kitts, maybe the history of when we were, so-called said that we were no longer slaves. But no longer being slaves physically, you still have the mental part of it to deal with, hence the song, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. You still have that. So if we are 140 years out of that physical bondage, how long do you think it would take us to be out of the mental bondage? And we now see that slavery can be coming in other forms, maybe economic slavery. I mean, we even have all kind of situations before us right now, and we could see the mental slavery acting out in our leaders, in our people in general. They're scared, they don't know what to do, and that's because we have not taken the time to really know ourselves. I mean, when you listen like some black conscious people from the Americas, for instance, one of the things that they love to promote is, black people coming together, owning their own schools and businesses and have their own leaders. But guess what? We've been doing it here in the Caribbean for quite some time. And I would just love to let them know that even that have not worked, because the true nature is that we have to know who we are. And African Liberation Day could be a tree planted, as it would say, by the rivers of water that bringeth forth fruits. And these fruits would be information, knowledge of our history, our past, so that the generation present and the generation that is oncoming could be feeding from this tree planted.
Yes, and most humbly we like to add, and rightly so, every race of people have a story, every race of people have a story, and your story is your story. Whatever you go through, just like my brethren just talk about our period of enslavement, the forming of the OAU, as it was called then in 1963, the Organization of African Unity, it is part of our story. And naturally, if we are an African people, we must have interest in our story, Bob Marley's son sang it most appropriately. He said, my story, our story, we have a story, and it just simply know of your story. The more you know of yourself, Marcus Garvey has said that, people without knowledge of, of themselves, the past, but it's like tree without roots. We don't want to be like tree without roots, are we? Blessed love.
Thank you for that. Now, African Liberation Day, it is commemorated or celebrated on May 25th. Now, what is being done here in Sinkis, or what has been done in the past to recognize this day, such as activities or any services or programs held to commemorate this day here in St. Kitts and Nevis? Anyone can give a response?
Well, we have over the years, starting from the 70s, early 70s, organizers then, not the Nyabingi order then, there was lots of ones in the Pan-African world. You know, Rastafari has always been amidst the same ones and ones. We celebrated with rightly observing the day with a solidarity rally. A solidarity rally around the day itself, knowing the significance of the day, of what happened on that day for African people. Because remember, you know, whatever goes on the continent of Africa, it impacts African people wherever we are. This is just the naked truth. We cannot go around this. And knowing that, from that consciousness, we started, as I said before, with solidarity rally. Solidarity rally that embrace African people in its most touchable form, you know, knowing that establishment of the OAU at that time was what it is for: unity for progress in all its formation, economic, all its form. I don't even want to call it. We know what progress is. This is the 21st century. We know what we are up against economically, spiritually, educationally. We know what we are up against. Total liberation in all those formations. And if that happens, you know, we know what the benefits would be like for even us who was taken away and still sojourns in these plantation lands where we was taken into. And with that consciousness, we make sure that our rallies are what it ought to be, disseminating information to enhance the mental faculty of black people here, there, and everywhere, so that we can regain, you know, the position that we were before all of what we are experiencing now. We are the original people. We hate no one, but the naked truth is we are the original people. So it took form in the form of solidarity, very conscious solidarity. Up to the time, there was no African Liberation Day solidarity rally because of what we are experiencing now, in a collective way, that is, you know, because of here in St. Kitts Nevis, because of what we are experiencing now with the Corona-19. Permission was not granted, and we decided to just go into it in a different form, and still keeping on people's mind the best way we can through technology what the importance and the significance of the day. Mm-hmm. While I'm on that, let me share something, a message that came out on that day, Blessed Liberation Day. Let us examine what I'm going to quote now from the word "let" is an utterance by His Imperial Majesty. Quote, "Let us examine the OAU meaning the Organization of African Unity, in theory and practice. looking at the OAU as a concern against the background of the history of Pan-Africanism. We start by spelling out what the organization is and is not. First, the organization is not a supranational body. It is strictly an intergovernmental body with limited purpose of fostering cooperation among the member states. Second, the Charter of the OAU is not a constituent act of the peoples of Africa, but rather an agreement freely entered into by governments. The contractual charter of the organization is further emphasized by the recognition of the sovereign equality of states. The signatories have recognized in the preamble that the creation of the organization is a response to the aspiration of our peoples for brotherhood and solidarity in a large unity transcending ethnic and national differences. End of quote.
Thank you for that, Ras Eli. We have not been able to get Mr. Clark to join us via the phone. We're going to take a short break to say thank you to the sponsors, and we'll try to get him. We will be back shortly.
Listen.
Yeah, Brillo Benji. Yo, I know you all don't know me, but it's just Brillo, and you're rocking with 98.9 Win FM. Please don't change it.
Know that you captured those special moments, turn them into lasting memories at the TDC Business Center. Purchase your photo print bundle and get a chance to win a Canon MG3010 printer. Click and print. Visit TDC Business Center today.
Flow Broadband and TV is packed with even more value as you get a free Samsung tablet, free installation, and 50% off your bill for 3 months when you sign up now. Yes, a free Samsung tablet. Power all you do at home with up to 100 megabits per second super fast broadband. Plus, stay HD entertained with Flow TV. Stream, share, and do more on your new free tablet, which will also keep you connected on the go with ease. Sign up at a Flow store today. Conditions apply.
Good morning again. Welcome back to Voices on 1FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. The conversation is centered around African Liberation Day. As mentioned before, we have Mr. Agard as well as Ras Eli, and we have on the phone Mr. Earl Clark joining us via the telephone. Good morning, Mr. Clark, and welcome to Voices.
Good morning, brother. Good morning, brother. Rasta brothers. How are you this morning? I am glad to be part of this program, and I would like to say that one of the most educational aspects of Africanism is that we must teach our children, and our black people must realize that all black people emanated or came from Africa. Just like how Asia produces Indians, Europe produces white people, it's just so Africans are originated from Africa. We are not West Indians. We are black people who are planted in the West Indies to make other people rich from our free labor. And during the passage from Africa to the West Indies, so many of the brothers jumped overboard and were drowned because they preferred to be drowned than to come here and work as slaves. Our history did not begin with slavery. We had a rich history before we were enslaved and brought to these islands here. And, the surprising thing about it, is that after we were liberated from 1838 in the West Indies, 1865 in the United States, up to now, we cannot find who we are. When our black brothers and sisters become famous, you see them aping our oppressors. And, we have to find who we are and be proud of who we are. In the 1970s, when the Black Power struggle came on stream, we were black and proud. Black people used to sport their afro. And, everybody used to say, I am black and proud. Nowadays, we are black and ashamed. Because look at how we are altering ourselves to look like our oppressors. We are ashamed of who we are. Until we can get that black pride back in us again, we would never be free. We are still enslaved mentally. And Brother Bob Marley spoke about mental slavery. As long as we are mental slaves, we would never be free black people. And we have to change the system which enslaved us. We can't be liberated and talk about we have the capitalist system, because capitalism smacks of slavery, cheap labor, and disrespect. Until we can find a program, an economic program, which would really liberate our people totally, not mentally and physically, totally, we would never be free. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clark, for your take. Now, I want to pose a question to the panel, and anyone could feel free to answer. But I just want to piggyback off of what Mr. Clark said during his short presentation. Once we used to say, I'm black and I am proud. Now it is, I'm black and I'm ashamed. Some black people have said that, or some black people have rejected or denied their ties to Africa. That they're not from Africa, they're not black, they have no relation to that. And the notion that, you came from the same geological space, that you are all the same. Because there are some black people that would say we are all the same. And there are others that would say we are not. What is your response to that?
My response is that miseducation and misidentification. All black people originated from Mother Africa. And what they're saying is that the black continent. But Mother Africa is the richest continent in the world. There is no other continent which has the riches that Mother Africa has. But they refer to it as the dark continent. And so there are some people who are ashamed of their history and who are not ready to identify with Mother Africa. But they cannot deny their ancestry. All black people in St. Kitts are the product of slaves. And the slaves came from Africa. The black slaves came from Africa. And this cannot be denied. This is history. And people must learn their history And people must be proud of who they are. You know, until we get that pride in ourselves as black people. But you see, we have to learn our original history. Our history did not start with slavery. Our history started with empires. We built the pyramids. And up to now, the white man cannot understand how the pyramids were built. And only intelligent people could build those pyramids and they last up to today. And we had surgery. We did surgery before the white man invented surgery. And we had schools and universities before we were taken to the West Indies as slaves. And so we have to learn our history from the beginning, not from slavery, from the beginning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Agar?
I would like to add to what Mr. Clark just said. In asking, are we all the same, even though we have the same skin color, you know, after a while, you know, things go beyond the skin color. It sometimes now come to what you adopt.
Consciousness,
you know?
consciousness.
And a lot of people have adopted a European mindset.
Yes,
you know?
right.
And so that now, you once you adopt a foreign mindset, foreign concepts, and you find comfort in those things, then even this conversation we're having today is meaningless once you have that kind of mindset coming along. So the question sometimes is, even within your question, is liberate from what? Mm-hmm. Because if we're not the same people based on what we choose to be, and based also on maybe some historical background. Now, based on what Earl Clark was saying about us being a product of slavery, of course we are. But there were some black people moving still after the so-called slavery had ended. So they may or may not have been involved within the true bloodline of it, in the sense that they are actually descendants of slaves, but they more than likely are descendants of colonialism to some degree. So we could see that within all of that, and you know, based on what you were piggybacking from just now about black and proud, and now is black and shame. Mm-hmm. You know, this is so evident, and you know, you see that from the head, from the political leaders come right down. And I love to always mention the head, because the head have a lot to do with what is happening in the country, in these countries in the Caribbean. Because when there is the head, then there's influence on the system of education. There's influence in the system of law and every aspect of life that have the most impact on how we exist. So the head is definitely responsible for a lot of these things. And we are electing heads that do not really have that appreciation of the blackness or the black consciousness that we should have. So when we are electing leaders that don't have that type of consciousness, and even though you might have one of them between who have it, he's often converted the other way instead of the others being converted to his way, which is black consciousness. And we could see that clearly in our society. But I don't think that we are all the same, even by some nature of the history of it. I don't think we're all the same, even though we have the same skin colors. Because Africa, for instance, is a continent with 52 or 54 countries. I don't remember which it is. And they have differences in terms of religion, cultures, spirituality, you name it, they're all different, just like the world is different with a lot of other things. I mean, in some places you have Christianity and Islam, maybe like a 50-50. Some places you have like Christianity outnumbering Islam. Some places you have Islam outnumbering Christianity. Some places you probably don't have neither Christianity nor Islam. So you have 52 countries with differences. So it does not make us the same, because what it comes down to is the consciousness in you, and the consciousness sometimes comes from your DNA. I'll give an example. When my daughter was like 6-7 years old, I took her to the store. She wanted a doll. And the store had hundreds of white dolls in there. I tell her, go ahead and choose. She went into the corner and chose a black doll, looked just like her. Mm-hmm. I go to a different store now one day, a man looking a doll for his baby or his child, and I see him take up a white doll. Remember now, my daughter took up what she want. She took up something that she's identified with.
Right.
Now this man, now he's looking something for his child. I would think he's a daughter as well. But he's taking up a white doll. So I close to him asking, I say, oh, so you have a white baby, man? He said, no. He started to laugh, and he actually put it back.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't tell him to put it back.
Yeah.
I just asked him if he have a white baby. So sometimes the consciousness in us need awakening. You know, so sometimes we have to say something. Sometimes we have to do something. So when you asked earlier, what are we doing? You know, as Eli was mentioning, that based on what's happening, we are basically not able to do as much as we would like to do. I mean, based on some other areas, you might find they have rallies and speeches. So this radio program is one of the things that we're doing, and we hope that as time go forward, we may be able to do other things to at least bring that awakening to the people, you know, mind, so that they'll realize, well, you know, the black consciousness is necessary. It's not all going to come. It's not all going to come. But if you could get 1 or 2 out of every 10, you know, we could, that 1 or 2 could go and influence the next one somewhere. So we think that though we're not the same, it's basically by choice and not so much by bloodline.
Can you please repeat your question?
Sure, Mr. Eli. So it's essentially, I was piggybacking, I was going off of what Mr. Clark said in terms of once it was being black and proud, now it is being black and ashamed. And people saying that, well, I'm not from Africa. You're black, but you're not from Africa. You have no ties to Africa. And there are others who have said, all of us are not the same, even though we are all black. What is your take on that?
Okay. A few things. You know, there's a reality of a mental enslavement. It is called mental slavery. We hear even songs about it, and it is very real. And I would like to say that mental enslavement in some instances is worse than the chains that was on our hands and feet. And it goes right across the board. It starts from ones and ones in the masses, and it goes right up as my brethren alluded to a while ago, in terms of leaders. When we look at Barbados, just recently removed themselves away from the Queen of England being, you know, have sovereign over their land. And when we look and see how comfortable in other lands, in other islands, even St. Kitts Nevis, where we are still, from 19 whatever, we claim independence, and yet we are still, you know, attached to, you know, that is a form of mental slavery to me. You know, so it runs deep. It runs very deep. So to say, okay, such people will say, I'm not African, you know, that's all part of the mental enslavement. So all it needs is for the educating to continue and to be up even more. We'll get there.
Yes, right. While comments such as those would be an indication that there is still some level of mental slavery. This is a question for the panel. What, in your opinion, or what else have you seen happen, or what is still happening in our communities that is a clear indication of mental slavery?
I would love to touch that first.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because, I mean, the elephant in everybody's room right now, the elephant in everybody's room right now is this vaccine story, right? Now, there is such a thing, too, that we call psychological slavery, where, you know, once you start to exploit people, that is a form of slavery. So, you know, you're basically exploiting people who are not knowledgeable about certain things. And when you start to instill fear in people, I mean, today in St. Kitts we have fear of COVID-19, fear of a vaccine, fear of losing a job, and fear of death. So, you know, when you have all this fear in the air, I mean, when you read biblical pages and an angel appeared to anyone, the first thing is always, fear not, be not afraid. But look at our society today. Just constant fear, fear, fear. And then when you listen to our leaders, this programming of the mind to be a part of an experiment, telling you, be a part of an experiment, else you don't have your walk. Be a part of an experiment, else you cannot take part in this, you cannot take part in that. If that is not a clear sign of psychological slavery, which is also mental slavery, then basically saying that this is, in my view, evident that mental slavery is still with us. Because when you're going to go and threaten your people who voted for you, imagine you have a business and you hire Ras Eli to be your accountant, and Ras Eli telling you what you should do with your money. Not giving you a proposal, telling you what you must do with your money, or else. So the voters are actually the CEO of the country, but the voters don't know that. You know when they don't know that? Every 5 years.
Yes.
Every 5 years, the voters know they do have the power. But when this situation arises, the voters now are scared. They don't understand that they still have that same power.
Still have the power.
You know, you still have that power. You have the power within the law. You have the power within the fact that you go and you elect these people to deal with these kind of things. So I'm just saying that the mental slavery is quite evident with us, with the elephant in the room.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agard. Mr. Clark, I want to get a response from you, and then we'll go to Ras Eli.
Yes, are you hearing me, brother?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes. Brother Eli said that the worst form of slavery is mental slavery. You can release the chains from your wrists and your ankles, but once you are enslaved, and this is what is happening to black people in the world, the mental slavery. That is what has them bound. And you know, when people talk about, I am not from Africa, where black people originated, you know, and it shows that the consciousness is not there. In our society, we have some people who came from Syria and Lebanon, and we refer to them as Lebanese, and we refer to those people down on the port there, Port Zante, as Indians. Where the Indians came from? They came from Asia. And where black people came from? From Africa, Mother Africa. But why are we afraid and ashamed to identify with our origin?
Mental enslavement.
Mental enslavement. You know, and we really cannot blame ourselves because we were colonized, and it's the education. And you know, we knew everything about England, what this country produced, the Queen and the King, but we knew nothing about Mother Africa. And we have to start that consciousness from when we were small. When our children are small. I hear the brother talking about the black doll. I have never bought a white doll for my children. And when they're watching television and you have two white fighters and one is in a black pants, and you hear the children them saying, "Are you daddy back in here? Daddy back in the man in the black pants." You know, you have to have that consciousness, and you have to start drilling it from an early age, so that when they come up, they will be black and proud.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. It is 11:58. We are wrapping up. We'll take a break at 12 for the headline news. I'll allow now Mr. Ras Eli to give his response.
Ras Eli is enough, my brother.
Ras Eli.
Thanks. The mental enslavement is plenty. It's plenty. It's sad. It's very sad. Like we have a punchline for a poem go like this. Black as cold or tar. Brown as gold or chocolate bar. Still not shining as a bright, bright, bright star. The reason is near, not far. You don't know who you are. It's a very serious thing, the denial of self, true self, the denial of your true identity. What much identities we have all, Kitishan, Nivijan, Antiguan, Jamaican, this, that, the false identities. And then I spoke about a while ago about us, even up to the time of political independence. We're still not seeing the necessity of balancing that with economic independence. We're still holding on to somebody in England, Frogtail. I can just go on and on and on. These things are signs of mental enslavement. Visible signs. And it's sad. It's very sad. For the mighty people that we are, it's very sad.
Thank you, Mr. Eli. We're now at the 12 o'clock in time, so we're going to take a break for the headline news, and we'll come back at 12:30 to continue this conversation. The phone lines were not open, so we're so sorry for those of you who are trying to call in, but we'll open the phone lines for the second half, and we're going to entertain your calls. So if you're listening now, grab your pen and paper. The numbers to call when we get back will be 466-0989-762 and 662. Call us and be a part of the conversation for the second half of Voices. We're going to take a break now for the headline news. Let me just say thank you to all of you who tuned in, of course, via the radio and through social media. And again, thank you guys so much, Ras Eli, Mr. Agard, and Mr. Clark, for accepting our invitation to have a conversation about African Liberation Day.
Most welcome.
We'll take the short break and we'll be back at 12:30.
Yeah, blessed.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and Development Bank.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Everyone struggles at times. Even we too have our own struggles. Do you have a loan at the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis and have fallen behind on your payments because of financial difficulties? Have your financial situation changed? If your answer is yes, visit the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis or call 465-2288, extension 1101 or 469-5416 to make an appointment to discuss our debt evaluation and restructuring plan with one of our qualified officers. We are committed to working with you to make a sustained positive difference in your life.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
A drought warning has been issued for St. Kitts. The Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum and the Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology have recommended a drought warning be issued for St. Kitts and Antigua. CARICOF urged both countries to conserve and recycle water, implement water management plans, release public service announcements, and last-minute infrastructural repairs and upgrades. In a release issued on May 22nd, the Water Services Department advised that St. Kitts was in the midst of a severe dry season. Rainfall for the period January to April 2021 was approximately 6 inches, which is half the amount for the same period in 2020.
On May 27, 2021, 46-year-old Alston Phillip of Hamilton Estate, Nevis, was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 35 years for murder and 6 years and 6 months each for 2 counts of attempted murder. The sentences are to run concurrently. Phillip was found guilty by a unanimous verdict on November 19, 2020 for the murder of 37-year-old Lydia Jacobs and the attempted murder of Michigan Brooks and Erica Williams. The offences took place on June 2, 2017 at Church Ground, Nevis. Public Relations Officer of the St. Christopher and Nevis Social Security Board, Camilla Lawrence, is answering questions about payments from the organization.
One of the questions we've had, and I'm sure people, what if the country locks down? Is there going to be any COVID-19 payments like there were last time and so on? At this point, there is no discussion on that. As you know, COVID-19 management is a very fluid situation, so it keeps moving and evolving. So at this present time, there is no such discussion for the approval of any further payments in that regard. Last year, Social Security would have spent almost $25 million over the 3-month period for persons who were impacted by the shutdown and so on.
Speaking on Social Security's public information program aired on Island T, Lawrence also answered a question about payments if you are quarantined after traveling.
On the quarantine matter, Fortunately, when the founders of Social Security back in 1978, when the Act was being prepared, the number 13 Act of 1977, there is in fact regulations related to quarantine matters. And the law specifically reads, for the purpose, and this is Section 9 on the benefits entitlement, it says, for the purposes, well, this is one of the subsections under there. For the purposes of this regulation, an insured person shall be treated as incapable of work on any day within which that person is required to abstain from work because being under observance by reason of being a carrier or for having been in contact in the case of an infectious disease. And of course, this type of regulation must have other further qualifying conditions, meaning you have to be on quarantine by order of the CMO.
She promised to inform the public of any changes in procedure.
If I travel and I have to stay the 9 or 14 days, is Social Security responsible for that time? The answer is no. You've decided to travel, and so that's one of the requirements by government to come back in, but you weren't placed there having been suspected of being a carrier or so. You with me, Kevin? So we have those questions coming in and so on. But as I said, as the situation is quite fluid, and as time progresses, we'll be sure to make all the information available so everyone can have access to see what they're eligible for.
In some news to lift the spirits, the 2020 merit lists are out for the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, and 13 students from St. Kitts and Nevis are on that list. 10 students made the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate CSEC merit list, and 3 made the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination CAPE list. The students on the CSEC list are rank 3, Janisha Janique Rollins of the Charles E. Mills Secondary School for English A. Rank 3, Anaya Sitahal of the Washington Archibald High School, English A. Rank 7, Kayanja Poole of the Bastia High School, English A. Rank 7, Ayana Edinburgh of the Charles E. Mills Secondary School, English A. Rank 7, Zanaya Doa, private for English A. Rank 10, Igodel Jones, Washington Archibald High School, Integrated Science. Rank 6, Nekoya Shaniqua Powell of the Gingerland Secondary School, Mathematics. Rank 5, Sky Zander Joseph Faulkner of the Immaculate Conception Catholic School for Office Administration. Rank 5, Tivoli Rihanna Herbert of the Charles E. Mills Secondary School for Office Administration. Rank 3, Candice Stanley of the Washington Archibald High School for Physical Education and Sport. The students on the CAPE list are rank 7, Janisha Verna Phillip of the Nevis Sixth Form College, Entrepreneurship Unit 1. Rank 4, J. Carlicia Williams of the Nevis Sixth Form College, Accounting Unit 2. Rank 8 is Thalia Dorr of the Nevis Sixth Form College, Agricultural Science Unit 2. Congratulations to our 13 scholars. Police have charged 37-year-old Ketron Springett of Stony Grove for possession of ammunition and robbery. According to a police press release dated May 27th, Springett is accused of committing 2 robberies, one on May 17th, 2021 in Charlestown, and the other on May 20th, 2021, also in Charlestown. Springett was formally charged for the offences on May 25th, 2021, respectively. Wynne understands that Springett is accused of robbing the Reliable Motors gas station in Cedar Trees, Charlestown. Videos made the rounds on social media depicting a man believed to be Springett making off with the cash tray from the establishment and firing a non-fatal shot. He is also accused of robbing the Octagon Bar on Samuel Hunkins Drive. On May 23, 2021, Springate was formally charged for the offense of possession of ammunition. Springate was taken into police custody on May 20th when police found one 9mm round of ammunition following a search conducted on his premises.
I'm Keith Dover, a COVID-19 survivor. I saw COVID-19 as a flu. My symptoms started as a terrible headache and changed very quickly with loss of appetite, not even to drink water, to blood sugar levels of 600. I was hospitalized and placed on a ventilator for 9 weeks. I developed kidney, lung, and heart problems, which I never had before. I lost 70 pounds and had to learn how to walk all over again. The COVID-19 vaccine prevents you from getting seriously ill like I was, hospitalization and even death. I took the vaccine because, for me, the benefits outweigh the risks. You should get the COVID-19 vaccine too.
In this edition of the Caribbean News Roundup, an extended look at the Indian fugitive businessman matter with reports from Roseau, Antigua and Barbuda and India. The news coming right up. The triangle that fugitive Mehul Choksi finds himself in is currently playing out in Antigua, Dominica, and India. It is at the moment unclear whether Choksi left Antigua of his own volition by boat on his way to Cuba and stopped in Dominica as has been suggested, or he was kidnapped in Antigua and taken to Dominica. Let's take a look at the story of the fugitive businessman who at the moment is in Dominica waiting to, according to Antiguan Prime Minister Gaston Brown, be extradited from Dominica to India. Here is the first report on the matter in today's Caribbean News Roundup from Carlisle John Baptist of Nature Isle News.
A battery of lawyers comprising Wayne and Noddy, Wayne Marsh, Cara Shillingford Marsh, and Julian Privot have petitioned the court and obtained an order in the High Court in Roseau to stop the chief immigration officer from repatriating Indian-born fugitive Mehul Choksi from Dominica. Choksi was reported missing on Sunday, May 23, 2021 by a family member, sparking a manhunt for him. Local police in Antigua say they are seeking help from local and regional law enforcement counterparts and had asked Interpol to issue a yellow notice list. The businessman, who took citizenship of Antigua and Barbuda in 2017 using the Citizenship by Investment program before fleeing India in the first week of January 2018, was last seen on Sunday in his car. He is wanted in his home country for his alleged involvement in a U.S. multi-billion-dollar bank fraud. The government of Dominica, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, have confirmed that Choksi is in Dominica and they are doing their due diligence before returning him back to Antigua. Speaking on the issue, Wayne Marsh explained that the police have infringed on the constitutional rights of Choksi.
We were denied access to our client. Luckily, this morning at approximately 7:30 thereabout, I proceeded to the station and introduced myself as an attorney and requested that I be able to speak to Mr. Choksi. Having been allowed to speak to Mr. Choksi, I noticed that he was severely beaten, his eyes were swollen, he had several marks that he says were taser marks that he apparently was burnt by some electrical device. He reports to me that he was abducted from Jolly Harbor. He was brought to Dominica by persons who he believes to be Indian and Antiguan police on a vessel, a sailing vessel he describes to be approximately 60 to 70 feet. He was brought to Dominica on Sunday. He remained at a location that he does not have much familiarity with. But on Monday, he was taken by the Coast Guard to the station in Roseau. He was taken there on Monday evening, and he has remained there since. Now remember, said that both myself, Wayne Marsh, attorney, and Cara Shillingford went to the station yesterday at 1:45. Wayne Noddy and myself, well, I actually went there this morning. Wayne Noddy met me there, and while speaking to the officer, while speaking to Mr. Choksi, Inspector Daniel intervened and told us to leave the station as we were not allowed to speak to our client. Now, this is quite troubling for many reasons. First of all, Mr. Choksi is entitled to legal representation, whether he's in Antigua or Dominica. The facts are that Mr. Choksi is an Antiguan citizen. He is not an Indian citizen. I have heard the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Mr. Gaston Brown, said on air this morning that he has instructed the Prime Minister of Dominica and the government of Dominica to essentially, I would put it this way, to essentially take Mr. Choksi to India, because should he be returned to Antigua, there are constitutional protections which he would be entitled to. This is a travesty of justice. The whole nation needs to speak out, and as lawyers, we will do whatever we can to stop this abuse of Mr. Choksi. It is a breach of his human rights, it is a breach of his constitutional rights, and it must end now.
Meantime, the court has granted an order that the Attorney General and the Commissioner of Police, whether by themselves, their servants, agents, and/or representatives, be restrained from depriving the applicant access to legal counsel and legal representation. The applicant be allowed to meet with his legal counsel forthwith, that the defendants be restrained, whether by themselves, servants, agents, and/or representatives, from removing the applicant from the Commonwealth of Dominica until further or other hearing of this application. The matter will resume in court today.
India Today TV has a different take on how fugitive businessman Choksi was able to get from Antigua to Dominica. Here is what they have been telling their audience back in India.
These are some explosive details coming in as to how Mehul Choksi fled Antigua, and of course he took the water route. Efforts were taken to trace him using technical surveillance, but he was not spotted. Then they tried to check airport, but no person by the name of Mehul Choksi was found. And then it was suspected that he might have taken the water route. The distance between Antigua and Dominica is approximately 100 nautical miles. And according to unconfirmed reports at the moment, and I just want to reiterate the fact that these are unconfirmed reports at the moment, he was going to Cuba. But when he landed in Dominica, based on yellow notice by Interpol, he was apprehended. Manish Pandey has all the details. Manish, so this is a curious case of how he really escaped Antigua, and there was no passenger detail found in terms of him taking a flight out, and hence he has taken the water route. Is that at least confirmed?
Yeah, well, Chetty, the sources have indicated us that he took the water route to go to Cuba, but in between he wanted to halt for a few days to Dominica, and that is when, based on the yellow notice issued by the Interpol, he was caught in the north of Dominica. Now, as far as this entire missing case is concerned, what the Antiguan police have told India Today that on 23rd of May around 5:15 p.m., he went missing after he left his residence in Jolly Harbour in a car, and later on, when the entire search operation was conducted, his car was found, but he was never traced. Then technical surveillance were used, like tracking through the mobile cell tower, CCTV footage, but he was never found. Later on, they realized that he has not taken the any flight also, because the passengers manifesto were checked at the airports in Antigua, but again there was no trace. And finally, when he was detained in Dominica, they got to know that he took a water route, he took a motorboat for Cuba, and in between he was caught by the Dominican police in Dominica. And now the efforts are being made by the Indian authorities, by the Indian government, so that he can be deported back to India as soon as possible, because it is the easiest way for India to bring Mehul Choksi back to India.
The Ministry of National Security in Roseau has made a statement on the Choksi matter, as state-owned DBS Radio reported on Thursday evening. The ministry confirmed that Mr. Choksi was detained by law enforcement for illegal entry into Dominica. It said in the statement that a red alert has also been issued by Interpol bearing Choksi's name. The National Security Ministry said it is in communication with the authorities of Antigua and Barbuda to ascertain some facts, including the status of his Antiguan citizenship. Let's look back now at the Antigua leg of the story this week from the Point FM perspective.
Prime Minister Gaston Brown has told India Today television his government has asked Dominican authorities to detain Indian national Mehul Choksi for entering their country illegally, to make him persona non grata and have him deported directly to India. 62-year-old Choksi was held by police in Dominica on Wednesday, 3 days after he was reported missing here in Antigua. Reports are he was found on a vessel. Mehul Choksi, a diamantaire, is accused of scamming the Punjab National Bank in India of billions of dollars. He, along with his nephew Nirav Modi, allegedly perpetrated the crime. In Parliament on Tuesday, Mr. Brown had said he had no credible information to suggest the Indian national who is fighting extradition to India had fled Antigua and Barbuda. Police say the 62-year-old of Jolly Harbour was reported missing on Sunday, 23rd May at the Johnson's Point police station. He was last seen at about 5:15 p.m. that day before leaving home in a motor car, which was recovered. At the time he absconded, Mehul Choksi had 2 cases in the courts, fighting the government against his extradition, and the other stripping him of his Antiguan and Barbudan citizenship acquired under the Citizenship by Investment program. Mehul Choksi was said to have renounced his Indian citizenship, which would make it impossible for him to be sent back to India. Our newsroom contacted Attorney General Steroy Benjamin and asked his opinion on whether the wanted man can be deported, since he is no longer a citizen of India, but instead one of Antigua and Barbuda. In his response, the Attorney General said his understanding is the Indian government did not accept Mr. Choksi's application for revocation. Therefore, he remains an Indian citizen and can be sent on his way.
And as mentioned earlier, Prime Minister Gaston Brown was interviewed by India Today television about the efforts being made to get the fugitive businessman back to India.
Mr. Brown, we have just learned that Mr. Choksi is apprehended in Dominica. So now what next?
Right, so you're correct. He was actually found in Dominica, and it would appear that he may have entered the island illegally, possibly by boat. So the Dominican government is cooperating with the Antiguan and Indian governments. Mr. Choksi will be deported from Dominica. However, we have requested Prime Minister Skerrit and law enforcement in Dominica not to return him to Antigua, where he has legal and constitutional protection as a citizen. In fact, we have requested specifically that he be detained and to allow law enforcement in India to make the necessary arrangements with the Dominican government to have Mr. Choksi returned directly to India.
So, sir, how he escaped? Any idea? And is his family approaching you? What's the current status like?
Well, again, as I said, he's detained in Dominica. I mean, he skipped the island, and we would have put out a notice, an Interpol notice that he's missing, and he was actually located in Dominica, which is about 35 minutes away by air. And the governments of Antigua, Barbuda, Dominica, and even the Indian government, we're now cooperating to see how we can get him sent back to India, to have him repatriated to India.
So, Prime Minister, is this a borderline which is stretched by you now, that you will not accept him back, or you will have to accept him if Dominica doesn't agree?
Dominica's agreed, and we will not accept him back. So I think Mr. Choksi would have well prejudiced the constitutional legal protections he enjoyed as a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda.
So he made a monumental error by skipping the island and going to another country where he does not have citizenship. Well, I'm not aware that he has citizenship of Dominica, but in any case, the Dominica government and Dominica law enforcement, they're cooperating, and we would have informed the Indian government that they need to act swiftly to have him repatriated to India.
Do you think now he will be repatriated for sure?
I am pretty sure. I'm not aware that he's a citizen of Dominica and that he would enjoy any such constitutional protection. On that basis, it will be easy for Dominica to deport him.
What about his family, sir, which is in your country still?
Fine. I mean, they're not known to be, let's say, criminals or would have done anything illegal. So just like any other citizen from any other country, they're here legally. It's fine.
So is your government is also in touch with India and Dominica at the same time?
Yes, yes. In fact, we have been coordinating the discussions and to ensure that ultimately he's repatriated to India.
And that's the news roundup for today, Friday, May 28. I'm Ken Richards. Thanks for listening.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. The White House is monitoring a new hacking attempt that Microsoft is linking to Russian intelligence. NPR's Scott Detrow has more.
According to Microsoft, someone accessed email services used by the U.S. Agency for International Development and then sent out virus-laced phishing emails. While the company is blaming the same Russian actors behind the SolarWinds hack, U.S. intelligence has not yet made the same claim. Still, a National Security Council spokesperson says the White House is monitoring the situation, but so far only sees a limited impact from the hack. President Biden imposed new sanctions on Russia after SolarWinds. The administration has said Biden will discuss Russian cyber attacks during next month's summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Scott Detrow, NPR News, Washington.
President Biden is poised to release his proposed budget, and published reports say it's worth about $6 trillion. It apparently calls for the U.S. to run a deficit of nearly $2 trillion. The eye-popping numbers come as Biden works to push his infrastructure proposal forward and widen the nation's social safety net. Heading into the Memorial Day weekend, public health officials are expressing optimism that the country is on the right track in the battle against the pandemic, but they're also cautioning Americans not to let down their guard too fast. NPR's Rob Stein has more.
The number of people getting infected, sick, and dying has been falling steadily for more than a month and are at the lowest levels in almost a year. More than half of all U.S. adults are now fully vaccinated. So unlike previous big national holidays, public health officials say it's safe for vaccinated people to take off their masks and for people to gather for picnics and barbecues over the weekend. But unvaccinated people still have to be careful, and officials are urging more people to get vaccinated, especially because the more contagious variants still pose a threat. Rob Stein, NPR News.
NASA has a tiny helicopter operating on Mars, but officials say it started swaying erratically during its last flight. As NPR's Joe Palca reports, flight managers now think they know what happened.
The flight took off normally. The helicopter climbed to 10 feet above the Martian surface, then flew 150 yards southwest, and then turned south. Toward the end of that first leg, the helicopter started unexpectedly tilting back and forth, and alternatively slowing down and speeding up. Despite this, it continued to fly its intended course, coming down about 5 yards from its expected landing spot. An analysis shows that there was a timing problem with the onboard navigation system, making the helicopter think it was slightly off course when it really wasn't. Safety systems on the rover designed to tolerate such instabilities worked, preventing a crash. Joe Palca, NPR News.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up 100 points at 34,565. The Nasdaq is up 50. This is NPR. Hundreds of mourners gathered at City Hall in San Jose, California last night. They honored the 9 people killed this week in a mass shooting. Authorities are investigating. The gunman took his own life.
This is the news in brief from the United Nations.
Odds are increasing that the average global temperature will rise beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels in at least one of the next 5 years, the UN Weather Agency has announced. In a new report issued on Thursday, the World Meteorological Organization, or WMO, said that there was a 40% chance that the watershed global warming mark will be met by 2025, and these odds are increasing with time. Head of the UN agency, Professor Petteri Talas, warned that increasing temperatures meant more melting ice, higher sea levels, more heat waves and other extreme weather, along with greater impacts on food security, health, the environment and sustainable development. The World Meteorological Organization Secretary-General also noted that it was now possible to track greenhouse gas emissions back to their sources in order to slash emissions and achieve carbon neutrality. UN Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet has called for a genuine and inclusive peace process to end the Israeli occupation of Palestine and a repeat of possible war crimes in a special session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva. In comments on Thursday, which stopped short of supporting a call for an international investigation into the recent deadly escalation, Ms. Bachelet condemned indiscriminate rocket attacks by Gaza's de facto authority Hamas, which claimed 10 lives in Israel, and strikes inside the enclave by Israeli security forces that left 242 dead.
Airstrikes in such densely populated areas resulted in a high level of civilian fatalities and injuries, as well as the widespread destruction of civilian infrastructure. If found to be indiscriminate and disproportionate in their impact on civilians and civilian objects, such attacks may constitute war crimes.
The High Commissioner for Human Rights also welcomed the 21st of May ceasefire, but warned that it would only be a matter of time until the next flare-up unless the root causes of this latest escalation were addressed. In reply, Israel's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, Ambassador Meirav Eilon-Shahar, said that all measures had been taken to protect civilians, but that Hamas had intentionally hid behind residential buildings, maternity wards and mosques. Finally, to the universal issue of gender equality and how one peacekeeper made this key UN objective a reality for thousands of women in Darfur. The story begins with the women of the West Sudan region who've suffered displacement, sexual violence and political marginalisation linked to long-standing armed conflict there. Enter Major Stepleen Nyaboga of Kenya, who recently completed her deployment with the joint UN-African Union mission in Darfur, UNAMID. It was she who set up patrols so that women in Zalingay could access their farmlands in peace. Major Nyaboga also organised workshops aimed at addressing issues that affect Darfuri women, and by the end of the mission's operations in December, she'd also trained nearly 95% of the military staff on critical protection issues such as sexual and gender-based violence. In recognition of Major Nyaboga's achievement, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Thursday presented her with the Military Gender Advocate of the Year award. Her hands-on approach had made a profound difference for her colleagues and for the people of Darfur, Mr. Guterres maintained, before insisting that the United Nations remained committed to ensuring that women's voices were heard in political discussions. Daniel Johnson, UN News.
That was the WinFM Headline News. The WinFM Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery and Development Bank.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, DeLille Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Everyone struggles at times. Even we too have our own struggles. Do you have a loan at the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis and have fallen behind on your payments because of financial difficulties? Have your financial situation changed? If your answer is yes, visit the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis or call 465-2288, extension 1101 or 469-5416 to make an appointment to discuss our debt evaluation and restructuring plan with one of our qualified officers. We are committed to working with you to make a sustained positive difference in your life.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International. By land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tag Specials for May 20th through June 2nd. IGA Peanut Butter Creamy or Crunchy $7.99. Essential Everyday Lasagnas $4.49. Essential Everyday Pasta Sauces $6.99. General Mills Cereals $15.99 each. IGA Salad Dressings $5.99 each. Almond Breeze Milk $12.99. And now our very low weekly value deals. Planters dry roasted peanuts or lightly salted $11.99. Cream of wheat large $11.99. Almond Hammer detergent just $13.99. 20-ounce Gatorade $2.99. Yoplait yogurt $3.39. IGA Honey Bears $12.99 each. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart. Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí a Value Mart.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Voices. Apologies for the late start. You're listening to Red FM 98.9. I'm your host for this afternoon, Devon Cornelius. We're going to open the phone lines and we're going to continue this conversation for this afternoon. The numbers to call are 466-0989-762 and 662. Before we get to the calls, Ras Eli has a comment he'd like to put in.
And before we go to the line, which I'm glad that we're going to the lines, we want the people involvement in this. I hope you all had a either for lunch or something that is nutritious. Knowing the ancient dignity of liberation, we jumped into lurking shark's direction, preferring such physical death than be taken into slavery and humiliation.
Thank you for your contribution. The phone lines are open. We have a caller on the line. Let us take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm giving thanks for life. And yourself?
Not bad at all. I'm giving thanks as well. That's the most important thing to do right now.
Good. I want to be polluted in terms of saying, and I must say, good afternoon to Mr. Clark, my elder, and Brother Eli, my elder, and the other guests. Not quite sure if he's an elder beyond my age, but can I have permission to speak?
Blessed. We get Janice.
You do.
Okay. Program of this nature would always vindicate us, those of us who are on the front line, continue to agitate for our people's liberation, mentally and otherwise. Because the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And we will see it, and there are times when we do get pushback from the minds of the oppressed. But we don't understand. So it is, something that we know, because we are confident in the victory. So we do this, and we are elated as we make our contribution. Yes. One of the brothers said that even the ones and the twos, and even though you're not hearing much young voices, you are hearing the few. They will multiply.
Yes.
And so we are at a point where the ancient ones are back, and it's our youth who are the ancient ones. Yes. And so no matter, as Bob Marley say, have no fear for atomic energy and whatever energy and technology will come our way, because we are confident in the victory.
Yes.
That's just my comment for today. I wish to say to the brother that was on the program on the 25th on another radio station.
Yes.
He just gave out a number, and I wish to get in touch with him, because we they say iron sharpens iron. I'd like to get to know him.
Yeah,
so
blessed.
The
number is 76.
We have.
The number is.
I'm going forward to liberate our people's mind.
I wanted to give him the number before you go off.
Okay. And before we go to the other caller, please, wasn't the program was on the 25th?
Yes, it was on the 25th on Freedom.
Yes, so I did not add that to know. So please, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was marked. The day was marked with a radio program on Freedom FM. Right? That's the last African Liberation Day here in St. Kitts Nevis. Yes.
Right. Mr. Agar, you can give the number.
Right, so the number is 665-9758. Agard. Ras Agard.
We have another caller on the line. Let us keep taking these calls. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. We are still taking your calls. Call us at 466-0989-762 and 662. Be a part of this conversation today. It is 48 minutes past the hour of 12. You're listening to Voices, and we have another caller on the line. Caller, good afternoon. You are on the air.
Good afternoon, Devon. Turn up the radio. Good afternoon, Mr. Agard and my family.
Family, greetings.
Yeah, blessed
Good afternoon.
Agard, you know.
Before you go on, can I?
That's time to turn up the radio.
Yes, can I extend condolences and thanks for letting me know that we have a death in the Freeman's family.
Yes, do you know Elliot?
I heard the name.
Oh.
Yes.
Used to walk around with the man that called Puppy, the blind man.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a Freeman.
Okay. By the way, how is Bubba? in
Oh,
Angola?
Bubba fine man, he's down in Anguilla still.
Great.
When the place open, go down check him out for me.
I will. When is the funeral for Elliot?
Tomorrow, down at Apostolic Faith, that's where he used to go.
Okay.
He used to work at the Public Works Department as a supervisor for the road works.
Yes.
The last place I saw him working was up by the clinic, building the sidewall and the drain there.
Yes.
Anyway, now African Liberation Day. What has happened to it? Now I recall when it started first, because I once I could see I used to go every year. But the truth is, the fall off started after apartheid ended in South Africa. You know, people were all enthused, right, about fighting apartheid. And once Mandela came back and all of that, people no longer had an interest. So what is lacking is a rallying point. Some issue. Because while we may say education or whatever, just like in politics, people rally around issues. And if those who are trying to keep it alive really want to see it continue, they have got to look for an issue around which African people can unite. What do you think about that?
I think that's a very good point. But, you know, we love to say, and rightly so, it's a very good point because unison begets liberty, you know.
Yeah. Because you remember the early days, right? Crowd used to be in there. Because everybody was a national issue too. Anti-apartheid feelings was strong.
But my family, you know, I wouldn't say that the fire is gone completely. The struggle continues.
No, it hasn't gone. It hasn't gone, but it has been diminished.
Okay.
So you would have called the crowds in the square. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And another thing again, while I'm at it, many of the persons who were at the head of the movement, they moved away for whatever, maybe their personal development, you know, their jobs and so. Because people follow people, eh?
Yes.
And what it needs is somebody. Agard could do, you know, but Agard look at it as waver. You need somebody, just like how the party, Labour Party want Douglas and the Unity want Harris, then the African Liberation want somebody.
I agree with you to a point, but then the people, you see.
People we're dealing with, eh?
Yes, and as you rightly said, the fire was there to wait or to be during the time of the apartheid struggle in South Africa.
Yeah, it was strong.
So I'm saying that the fire have to be, apart from who organized, you know, same, like right now the Nyabingi order does that, and people have a tendency of thinking that African Liberation Day is for Rastafari. No, of course
well,
not.
To me, I put the fault on the Nyabingi because I used to go. And they get upon the mic. They start to call Christian. When everybody used to attend, Christian, non-Christian, you understand what I'm saying? And then I think gets up there and fireburn Jesus. I mean, if you start to fireburn Jesus, you expect people to come on to hear the God get burned?
I hear you. African Liberation Day is for all. This, no matter what is your religious practice, of course, and we know that.
So to me, they are the ones. They are the ones in the enthusiasm, right? In the enthusiasm.
But family, you cannot blame you cannot blame the entire family of Nyabinghi or Rastafari.
No. But there was leading elements in it.
One says that, you know.
Zambo was one.
Yes, Ras Zambo.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Henry, for your contribution. Then. We'll begin taking some more calls.
Thank you for calling, family. I was saying there, and I would like to add quickly that the fire have to really come from the people. It's something like the political situation that we have in. If the masses of people.
Sorry to cut you. We have a caller on the line. Let us take this call and then I'll let you continue. Caller, good afternoon. You are on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to the gentleman there. This is Journey.
Greetings.
Listen. Yeah, I just want to throw out something there. Truth is no longer hidden, yet people are hiding from the truth. Let me repeat that.
Mm-hmm.
Truth is no longer hidden, yet our people are hiding from the truth.
That is so true.
Now, I don't know if you guys on the panel there know of King Bogoni of the Igbo Kingdom in South Africa. That's King Bogoni. You can check him out on YouTube. Now, King Bogoni is setting up a united continental global kingdom of restoration. In this kingdom, it's reaching to Africans on the continent and in the diaspora, even down here in the Caribbean.
Yes.
America, Europe, Australia, and the Caribbean. And this kingdom, we're going to have our own currency.
Yes.
Our own bank, if necessary.
Yes.
One language, one passport for the continent.
Yes.
And that extends to us in the diaspora as well. For those who, before I say that, let me just say, you guys, Mr. Earl Clark said that most people are saying that, I wasn't born in Africa and I'm not African. We are African, not that we are not born on the continent, but the fact that we are black. And I'm sure you guys have heard one of the presidents say, I am not African because I was born in Africa, but Africa was born in me. Our skin is our gate pass.
Yes.
Now, about the truth that is hidden. We are so plugged in to the misery of what they gave us. Now, Mrs. Henry said earlier that when you guys were having your thing, the Rastas them were saying fireburn Jesus. We have to understand who Jesus is, because what we have is a watered down version. We have the story of Jesus that represented us, the birth of the virgin that was, concealed in what's her name, the brother that killed the king, the Pharaoh, and she went around in all the where they scattered his body and bring him back, and we know where that story came from. So when our people are saying that, I am not African and all that, and the Jesus story, the fact that they went to so extreme to destroy what we had and establish what they copied from us and bring it to us today, it's enough for us to ponder. That is enough for us to ponder. Because look at, if you listen to any of the speech from King Bogoni, even the very kingdom, the establishment of the kingdom that was ordained by the Most High through the kings in Africa. You and I know that there were kingdoms that was looted and destroyed, and now they come out here and they establish from what they copied from us. Those creatures, I can't stress that enough. Those creatures who now establish what they have from what they've taken from us. And we glorify them today. And now we have truth are being revealed and we are hiding from the truth. Gentlemen, I would like for the guy to give out his number again so that I can write it down. Just give me time to get off the phone because I need to make contact. Thank you for taking my call. Just give out the number again for me, please, and I'll be grateful.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, caller, for your contribution. You can go ahead and give out the number.
Right, yeah, blessed. Rasiega, the number is 665-9758. That's 665-9758.
We have... Go ahead, Rasiega.
Yeah, you know, the show continues, you know, and whilst whilst it continues, as it keep, you know, it's ongoing, and the liberation fire must be burning within the people for the realization of the total liberation. It's not about organizing is one part of it, you know, organizing events, but the people must have that fire within themselves for liberation. And I was trying to make the example. It's the same thing in the political field, you know. The electorate must reach to a point of knowing what they are going to, you know, what they are going to be tolerating from what they won't be tolerating, you know. Things like that. It's just the people. It's the people. It's the people. It's the people. It's the masses. Blessed love.
Yeah, blessed. I just wanted to add at least say something concerning what the last caller just mentioned. And I hope he's not putting King Bogoni in any situation, because we know that Gaddafi was actually setting up like a central bank for black people, for the Caribbean and so on. And we see when the propaganda machine got to work, what happened to Gaddafi. And we know our people here, the news that they watch is from CNN and Fox and all those news stations that are basically the propaganda machines. So that when these people want to destroy someone, they just put the propaganda machine to play, and then our own people would clap at the destruction of our own brothers and sisters.
Right in front of our eyes.
So I just hope the brethren didn't put Bogoni in a position where the propaganda machine go after him, and then we don't hear clapping for things that we shouldn't be clapping for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to give you an example of what we just do as well. On National Geographic, National Geographic has labeled what we call Guy Fawkes a terrorist act, an act of terrorism. But yet we have a festival here for Guy Fawkes.
Yes.
You know, it's sometimes the ignorance of our people.
Yes.
It's so strange, you know, when the guy said it clearly just now, that truth is not hidden.
No.
Truth is not hidden. The information is there. I read this on National Geographic.
Yes.
But the people don't want the truth, so they hide from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really just wanted to thank the brethren for saying such a thing, because that's a powerful statement.
Yes. Before we continue, we have some callers on the line that are trying to get in.
Okay.
Let us take these calls. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. The numbers to call are 466-0989-762 and 662. Call us and be a part of the conversation. The caller is back. Okay, we're having some difficulties there with the callers. Continue, and I'll indicate when we have another caller.
Okay.
Miss, just before we still have Mr. Clark on the line. Okay, let us take this call now. Okay, we are losing these calls. Mr. Clark, you're still on the line? Mr. Clark? Okay, let us take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You are on the air.
Yes. Mr. Cornelius, I'm back. Just to put a plug on King Bogoni, for the simple fact that the brother heard him, and I heard him, and others would have heard him. King Bogoni is not a coward. When someone was attempted to be poisoned 15 times, and he can disclose that, how do we discover King Bogoni? Yes, we are spiritual people, but is this fact that he disclosed all this information? And what's the plug I want to put in? Apart from our mental slavery, there is economic slavery. So those are two that goes hand in hand. And in the diaspora and on the continent alike, we have what we call corporations. Government structures on the continent and out here in the diaspora are just corporations. And sad to say, our prime ministers are just floor managers of the CEO, not on the continent, but the CEO somewhere in Europe or Canada or in that world. So the land and the resources of the land that is going to propel us, empower us in terms of our economic liberation are entrusted in this indigenous king's hands. Now, it's not all of the kings, but there's the Uka movement that is up and running, and these are the words of King Bogoni. When someone is going to come and tap on his shoulder from behind and just cry out because fire that burned that individual hand, King Bogoni is not no joke. He was ordained by the Most High. So when he speaks and testifies these things, a person in the audience saw that this man cry out, literally got burned. We are no persons to play with. And when our king speaks, we have to listen. Thanks for listening.
You're blessed.
Thank you, caller, for your contribution. We'll let the panel respond to that. Anyone can respond to that.
Concerning the development with King Bogoni and our other brothers and sisters on the continent, our story, our story, our experience, and it is said, once bitten, twice shy. So, as the struggle continues, we are just on a different level as times go on and know what we are up against and how to go about, being successful and being victorious in our every move in the struggle. We are not careless, so to speak. Even though we know what we are up against, and what we are up against is evil, good over evil. We are confident. We are truly confident.
We have some callers who are trying to get in. We will continue to take some calls. Let us take these calls. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah, bless
you are talking about the struggle. The struggle is real right now, live in St. Kitts. For I see, I think most majority of the West Bus line, the strike, are just having a meeting at the what you call it, Senator War Memorial.
Yeah.
And the people are getting frustrated at the terminal because today is Friday, everybody wants to do the thing and get about hopefully later.
Yeah.
So we let them to walk out whatever I walk out for the sake of the passengers that need to do the thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So right about now they're going on.
Yes.
I just letting people know. So in case they could take a one to transfer somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. I give thanks,
Yeah, blessed love, King.
Give thanks to the for.
Yeah, caller, thank you so much for your contribution. We are still taking your calls. The numbers to call are 466-0989-762 and 662. You're listening to Voices on 1FM 98.9. The conversation is centered around African Liberation Day, and we have a number of callers that are trying to get in, so we'll take this call, guys. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Greetings and love,
Yeah, blessed. Judah.
And to the eye and to the panelists them.
Greetings.
Hey God.
Yeah, blessed Judah.
God. You said earlier, the Africans being influenced by the European mode of development, the European value system, the European way of life, basically.
Yeah.
Do you see, I mean, even in today's world, you know, moving into the digital age, you know what I mean, where things are even going on another level now, right? So, and we are caught up with the technology, you know, can't put on the phone, we can't, you know what I mean, we have the computer, you know what I mean? So I'm saying, given all of this, you know, and given that the fact that you said the mind is the most valuable things in the hands of the oppressor, right? Given all of this, do you see the African, right, becoming liberated, right? That's one of the question, one. And the other question is this: what role do you see? I mean, if you see it happening, what role do you see Rastafari, which is in the teachings of His Majesty, the opinions, philosophies of His Majesty, and the cultural practice, the cultural liberty of I and I, the Rastafari people? What role do you see that playing in the liberation and the unification of Africa? Yeah, man, give thanks.
Caller, thank you so much for your contribution. You're listening to Voices on WinFM 98.9. Mr. Agar, when you're ready, I'll give you an opportunity to respond to those questions.
Right, blessed love. Yeah, man, give thanks, Judah, for the word sound. Right, well, I could even start with it from the second question about the role of Rasta into that process. When His Majesty visited Jamaica, that was one of the commands given to Rastafari people, to liberate the people first before you even make the mission to repatriate and set up yourself back into the motherland and so on. So Rasta was given that task from the very beginning to liberate the minds of the people, liberate the people. The only problem is now that Rasta, you could say, going at it kind of slow, because in everything, you know, war gonna come at I and I, war always gonna be coming to people by different ways. And war meaning like sometimes is an economic struggle, sometimes is a mental struggle, sometimes is a struggle of unity and so on. So there's always a few struggles that gonna come up against I and I, but still I and I ain't wavering. We're still coming at it full steam ahead, trying still to liberate the minds of the people. But it is not something that is easily done when, as one of the caller was mentioning earlier about Rasta saying like burn Jesus and burn Bible and so on, because the same people you want to liberate and you tell them you're burning out certain things what they believe in, that itself also makes it a kind of difficult. So we could see that sometimes the approach may not be the best way, but still there are others who are making good headway into the liberation process. So I can see it happening, but it is not something that I could say I see happening now, anytime soon, and especially with, as you heard me mention earlier, the elephant in the room. As we could see, the elephant in the room right now being, you know, the most talked about, and this is basically taking the energy from the people direct. So right now, I don't know if the people even want to hear anything about being liberated, because people are fearful right now for their life. People fearful of COVID-19, fearful of a vaccine, fearful of losing their job. So people right now are just going through a whole lot of fear. And I would just say, relax yourself, you know, just remember that you, the people, always have the power. Since in Bible time, the people always have the power. Sure. When the people decide they're going to do whatever it is, Father would even go and warn them to not do certain things. But if they still want it so, then He allow it to be. So He show that the people have the power to destroy themselves, or they have the power to liberate themselves. So we are saying that we're here to give to give, we're trying to motivate the people, we're trying to motivate the consciousness to awaken it so that the people could look into themselves and want the liberation. And yes, Rasta definitely is always there to front it, to lead it, to even bring more knowledge towards it, and let's have the conversation going forward. So yes, I can see it happening. I just cannot see it happening like anytime soon. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Agard. We're going to continue. We have another caller on the line who is trying to get in. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. After this call, I'll allow you to respond. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Hello.
Yeah, blessed.
Are you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Hello.
Yes, we are hearing you.
You're hearing me, yes.
Yes.
I would like to get in on the talk about Africa. Now, my Oxford Concise Dictionary gives two meanings of the word Africa. One, an African is a native of the continent of Africa. And the two, an African is a dark-skinned colored person. Now, this twist has caused a lot of confusion in our world today. What about the other continents? There are 5 continents. A person born in Europe is European. A person born in Asia is Asian. A person born in America is American. A person born in Australia is Australian. But two meanings for a person born in Africa. And that is what is causing all the confusion. Africa is a continent of over 50 countries. And every country is patriotic. They have total allegiance to the country in which they are. They're not talking about, when they're in that country, they're not talking about Africa, If they're in Nigeria, they're talking about being a Nigerian. If they're in Syria, they're talking about being a Syrian. If they're in Egypt, they're talking about being an Egyptian. And so on and so on and so on. So this is the confusion that we have to think with. I hope you can get over this nonsense. Now, the question of slavery. In the first dispensation, slavery was the thing. And it moved into this dispensation in which we are today. But in the first dispensation, money was a scarcity. The rich people traded in what? Silver and gold. When Jesus was crucified and paid the chap who did his bad work 30 pieces of silver, you know what he did with the 30 pieces of silver? He threw it away because he couldn't take it to any business place and spend it. So money was a scarcity in that first dispensation. In this present dispensation now, we were able to move into, especially from the British standpoint, we were able to move into what we call cash. We have notes and what have you and what have you and what have you and what have you. I'm not going through the whole work because I don't think I will have enough time. But as a result of us talking about slavery, what is a slave? A slave is a person who is dependent on his master for sustenance and for upkeep. And that was the prevailing condition in that first dispensation. In this present dispensation we are in, we contend that we need trades and labor union and all that sort of thing to fight on behalf of workers, and that is why it was changed. But we continue to harp on this old nonsense. If we realize, if we read the Bible enough, we will know that there was a time when a man called Joseph was thrown into a well by his brothers. And after a while, they saw a caravan coming with some rich people. And they took him out and sold Joseph into slavery. And Joseph became, because he believed in God, he became so prominent that he was able to assist his family, his other 11 brothers, because he was one of 12, and his father in their way of life. What I'm trying to show is that slavery was something of that dispensation in a broad way. And that is why it came into the Caribbean when the English people came here to colonize these parts. And what happened? They went back to Africa to get people to work because of the fact that the weather was not conducive so much to their own race, but it was better for the African race. They were helping to promote that country, and they were able to bring those people into the Caribbean. And not only the people, they brought the animals too, the cattle, the horses, and that sort of thing, sheep and goats. Are you hearing me?
Yes. Loud and clear.
Right, okay. So we must put ourselves in perspective and understand that we are living in a different dispensation to what we had before. The first dispensation lasted for some 5,000 years. This present dispensation is only 2021. How far it will go, we don't know. But you think we will get to 5,000? I hardly think so. But if we don't put our trust in God, we will certainly perish. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks for calling.
Caller, thank you so much for your contribution. We're going to wrap up the calls now, and we're going to allow our panel to respond to these comments and questions.
Well, your last caller, definitely without the divine source, we are nothing as a people. That has always been our core as a people. We are a God people, and we shall remain that way. There is a lot of conflicts going on in religion, but we are a people with a spiritual source, and we will always be that people. Speaking about that situation on the continent, we have similar situation in the Caribbean. Different islands claim when indeed we are one. We also have situations like that across Europe. The struggle continues, and we will get there. Concerning the liberation, we called it before, concerning the liberation, the realization of the liberation. Yes, it is a must. No matter what time it takes, we will see that liberation. And concerning Rastafari are indeed the vanguards for this liberation of the people of the African race, whether it is whether it's in where we were scattered or at home. We are the vanguards, and it remains that way. And we just have to be humble while we served, and it will be as it ought to be. Because the African race must be restored. Must be. There's no maybe about it. It must be restored. Total liberation at a possibility, and it must be through the unlimited powers of the Most High.
Thank you, Ras Eli. Mr. Agar, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Yes, I would just like to say something to the last caller. I mean, he made a good point in talking about slavery, like being dependent on your slave master and so on. But he made mention of the dictionary meaning of Africa. I actually thought he was going with it in the sense of, it being a word that was invented by white people, which is debatable because some people say it's black and what's not, which in the ancient name is Akebulan. But I just wanted to say to the caller that, seeing that he mentioned things about the Bible, that money was mentioned in Genesis, from Genesis chapter 17 and onwards, and even earlier. But money was always mentioned in the Bible. It's nothing new. Whether they use gold and silver, but it was always money. This notes thing, is something that is kind of new with the paperwork and what's not. And that is a conversation that will be by itself. But I don't know if the caller was suggesting that money was something that never used to be back then. But from the very first book in the Bible, money was mentioned and onwards. And something else you mentioned there. But anyway, I think that the liberation concept of our black people is very important. And again, as I must stress on it, that I'm thinking that we should propose to the system that next African Liberation Day be a holiday, a public holiday in the country. And we also would like to encourage the other Caribbean islands to take note of this and make it a public holiday, because as most scholars would have called in and make mention about, if a person of the Chinese descent is born in St. Kitts, when you see them on the street, you call them Chinese. You see the Indians on the streets, you call them Indians. Mm-hmm. But we see our own brothers and sisters on the street, and we call them Nivisians and Kittitians and all kind of different things and so on. Mm-hmm. And they themselves don't want to be called Africans. Yeah. And I guess because the same propaganda machines and some of those books that they brought to us in schools have painted the picture of Africans as people who are poor, people who lack everything there is, knowledge and all these different things, which is all it is just propaganda. It's all a lie, because we know that, as the guy said, truth is not hidden, but we are hiding from the truth.
Right.
We into this age of knowledge right now, or information age, as the brethren said earlier, that we have all these devices and so on, like you can't keep off your phone and your tablet and whatnot. And they're there, you could just tap into them, and all this information is right there. It's just there. You could actually buy a book on Amazon now for 99 cents. Sometimes it's even free. So information is not hidden. But why is it that we're not going towards it? I guess we'll need a next program for all of that. But definitely, we need to make African Liberation Day a public holiday, and also in the minds of the people who want to have more of this conscious conversation. I would like to say, again, I will give my number to them, 665-9758. Let's talk, let's get together and talk these things, because one of the things we want to do is to set a date for the Caribbean Holocaust, the Holocaust of our ancestors. We want to put a date in place. We want that date to go to the UN. We want this thing to be globally observed, that there was, yes, a Holocaust in the Caribbean. It's in the history book. As to why we don't have a date set yet, that is beyond me, but I think we should go forward, set that date, set this holiday for African Liberation Day. Those are my final words, if this is the seal-up.
Yes, and thank you so much, Mr. Agard. Again, let me say thank you for accepting our invitation for being on this program. We're going to begin wrapping up now, and I'll allow Ras Eli to give any final comments that he would have at this time.
Well, just to say, thanks for inviting us, and we are here to be part of your conversation concerning liberation anytime. Blessed love. Concerning the current situation that's going on with the buses, we like it to come, we like for there to be a solution, so that the people, the masses, the people always suffer within the scheme of things, so that the people can find their way to and from their homes and continue doing their thing. Blessed love.
Thank you so much. It is now 1:27, and we're going to wrap up our program. You were listening to Voices on WinFM 98.9. I'm Devon Cornelius, your host for today. We're coming back tomorrow for Inside the News, and I will be interviewing the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, who is also the political leader of the Concerned Citizens Movement, CCM. He will be on from 11 a.m., so be sure to tune in and listen to this conversation. As you know, the Nevis Island Assembly elections are fast approaching, and things are heating up on Nevis, and so I want to be able to have a conversation with the political candidates and to see what they expect out of these upcoming elections. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to my brother and sisters from another mother, as well as my biological brothers and sister, my sister Tanya Brooks, my sisters from another mother, Lakia, Danielle, Calicia, Unico, and Sinello, and of course my brother Delroy and my other brother from another mother, Mr. Brown, Dart Brown. Thank you guys so much for listening to 1FM 98.9. This was another edition of Voices. Until next time, see you guys. Remember, continue to wear your mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing, and play your part in keeping us safe from the coronavirus. Remember, I'll be back tomorrow for Inside the News. I'll be interviewing the Premier, Mark Brantley, at 11 a.m. So be sure to have your radios on, listen, and of course, we will be taking some calls for you to pose your questions. Continue to have a fantastic Friday. It is 1:30. See you guys. Have a good one. Stay safe.